Hello, my gorgeous, fine scented friends. Welcome back to my world of fragrance. We are discussing the brand ROJA today, ROJA Parfums. I have been meaning to do this video for a very long time. I have done a video on my top Serjoff fragrances, top Bodycea the Victorias, top Clive Christian. So it is only about time that I come to ROJA Dove and his creations. So stay tuned to see which fragrances made the top list for ROJA. So ROJA Parfums is named after ROJA Dove, who is the creative visionary behind this brand / the perfumer, and he is a very vintage inspired creator. A lot of his fragrances in the line are, inspired by his childhood, by certain scent memories that he's had throughout his life. So he created this brand that was launched in 2011 as kind of his expression of his connection to the world of fragrance and to scents. And of course, this is a luxury line. Are these fragrances overpriced? Well, luxury is always overpriced. That's why it's called luxury. So they come in these bottles. The first fragrance that I'm going to talk about is Fetish, which is, most fragrances that are named Fetish usually are leather fragrances. So it's no surprise that this is a leather fragrance. It is a delicious, spicy leather fragrance, and I'm a person who really appreciates cardamom in fragrances, so the cardamom note in this stands out to me particularly much. It's a very buttery, smooth leather. It's not at all screechy or too overpowering for me. You just go lower with a spray amount and you're going to be absolutely fine. This one says pour homme, but of course I wear this, and all of these fragrances are completely unisex. The ones that I'm mentioning today I would recommend for both genders, all genders, let's say. And Fetish, I just feel like gives me some sort of feeling of empowerment when I wear this fragrance. I do feel powerful. I feel like I smell great. Like, it's something that you would not normally expect to smell in daily life. So I do enjoy wearing this when I have important meetings at work because I feel like I'm the boss in the room. And ROJA created a perfume for the brand Pure Distance called M, which is quite similar to this one, but they're both created by ROJA Dove, and I have M as well. But yes, I got Fetish first, and I really, really adore this fragrance. The next fragrance is an exclusive to Fortnum & Mason, which is a luxury department store here in London, and it is Taif Oud. So all of the Ouds are called Aoud in the ROJA line, which is more true to actually how you pronounce the name in Arabic. I'm not very good at Arabic myself, but this is Taif Oud, and the Taif rose is a Middle Eastern rose. It is a beautiful pink color, so this has a very subtle wind of oud, the clean kind of oud, and I don't know. I feel like by the name of this, you would think that this is a very overbearing fragrance, but it absolutely is not. It is a very subtle, beautiful, subtle rose fragrance with that wonderful hint of a gush of oud wind, if you understand what I'm saying. It is a really stunning fragrance, and yeah, this is one that I like to wear when I have time to actually smell my fragrance, not when I'm going to be out and about, but when I'm at home. I really enjoy wearing this one because I get to really inhale that Taif rose and feel luxurious. All of these feel very, very luxurious. And let me know what you think about the packaging of ROJA Parfums. I wasn't totally sold on the packaging the first time that I saw these fragrances, but now somehow I just love them. I feel like it's part of the entire experience of using these perfumes. I'm also not going to talk about the lighter versions, the new colognes and stuff that have come out, because I feel like if you are really going to experience this brand, you might as well go for the best thing. Like, go to the best things, save up even for the better perfumes than to go for a lighter version to get your foot in the door. I don't know. That's just how I personally feel about these perfumes. I wouldn't say that they are the most long-lasting perfumes considering the prices on the market, so therefore I would not even go lighter with these perfumes. I would take the Parfums, the Eau de Parfums, whenever I can. So Enigma from ROJA gets a lot of screen time here on YouTube and in general on Fragcom, but the one that I personally like to wear is Enigma Aoud, which is a really nice aldehydic at first fragrance that then incorporates some beautiful rose and jasmine, some subtle florals. Everything is just blended in this wonderful way. You will find with a lot of the Rojas, especially the way that he's coming from a very vintage inspired background, it's hard to pick out one note at a time. They're very much a whole bunch of notes that have been put into one perfume and blended seamlessly so that you can't really pick out those individual things. So this has those subtle florals, and then in the dry down, it has this woody, spicy powderiness with that little hint of oud as well. So in these fragrances with oud that I've just mentioned, this one and the Fortnum's exclusive, the oud is quite subtle, but I will get into the more strong ouds later on in this video. Another fragrance in the ROJA line that is a complete must try is a Goodnight's Kiss. This one is inspired by ROJA's Dear Mother, and I get almost sentimental trying out this fragrance because it is this sweet violet fragrance that has the color purple. You feel like you are embraced in a warm, rich purple color that is regal. This is one of the most opulent fragrances in the line. It is indulgence at its finest. And you can almost sense, you know, ROJA's own mother wearing this purple robe and coming to give him a goodnight's kiss on the forehead. It just really is a beautiful tribute, and yeah, a very, very beautiful fragrance. Along the sweet theme, we have Sweetie Oud. This one is the more gourmand type of fragrance in the line, and this, even for a non-gourmand lover, I would say is a must try as well. This one has a patisserie accord incorporated into it, so you almost taste these buttery croissants, and then with that same oud air that the other fragrances that I've mentioned previously have. So they kind of have this similar way that the oud is like a gushing force throughout all of these other notes that are incorporated in the perfume. This is a really lovely experience. Sweetie Oud, I would say that even though this is a sweet fragrance on the cusp of gourmand, it still doesn't seem cloying or heavy in that sense. It is, in terms of cloying, I would rank this a medium. So it is a fragrance that even non-gourmand lovers would be able to wear for more than just a few hours. And it just leaves a beautiful presence and a beautiful trail. A must try for gourmand lovers especially. Another fragrance that is also sweet and enveloping, but is especially vintage inspired, is Enslaved by ROJA. The name is a little bit peculiar, but this is a ylang ylang carnation lollipop to me. And this one is so vintage inspired that it pretty much smells very similar to Habanita by Molineux. But what ROJA Dove does is that he takes a vintage concept and he makes it more opulent, more luxurious, and basically he's like selling the dream, and it works. For the people who are interested in this type of realm of perfumery, it does really work. So Enslaved is one that I particularly enjoy. This is an evening wear fragrance for me because it is so rich. It is extremely rich. It's also slightly powdery, but this DNA, if you are familiar with Habanita and that line, is just remarkable. There is nothing else out there that kind of smells like this type of DNA. So I would say that out of all of them, this is one that I would call slightly feminine. But that's just me personally because I feel such a strong feminine identity with this fragrance. But a very beautiful, floral, powdery, vintage inspired, opulent gem. Now we come to a fragrance that I like to call the king of the ROJA line. This is a notorious fragrance because of its backstory, but also because of what it has come to represent. This is one of the most opulent fragrances, period, on the market. It is Diaghilev, and this one was originally created for the Victoria and Albert Museum. Rumor has it that this fragrance was, created for this special occasion, and it was sprayed onto all of the curtains at the show, these long red drapes. and it became such a hit. Everyone was asking about the fragrance, so ROJA decided to release it in his line. This is an oak moss bomb, very vintage inspired as well. I'm sure that you can find some similar dupes. I have mentioned actually in previous videos some similar dupes or what I feel this fragrance may have been inspired by, but still, this is it. This is Diaghilev itself, and of course this smells the most opulent out of the options that you have out there on the market. It also comes with a pretty penny. You have to pay quite a bit for it, but it is one of those where you don't have a lot of distinguishable notes. Another one, which is also a Chypré, so this is a Chypré fragrance, is Chypré Extraordinaire from the line, which is slightly sweeter and not as heavy on the oak moss. So that's another option if you do not like your oak moss as much as I do. But yeah, this is a stunning one, special occasion fragrance for me. So ROJA has a pretty big clientele in the Middle East. We have a lot of lovely friends, hello everyone, from the Middle East who comes to London in the summertime and likes to buy luxury perfumes. So I think as a thank you to that clientele, he has created a line that is Middle East specific, inspired by different locations in the Middle East. And the standout to me is UAE, so inspired by the United Arab Emirates. This one is such a wonderful depiction of a classic Middle Eastern sweet oud fragrance, and I just think that ROJA did a great job with blending this fragrance, because you have the dry woodiness of the oud and the woods in here, and then you have resins, and then you have a little bit of spice. It is just so subtly alluring, and if you are interested in the deeper Middle Eastern inspired fragrances, then definitely try that one out. I would also recommend just the entire Aoud line. You can get a set of 3. They have like a trio set, which would just be the dream to have, wouldn't it? With Amber Oud, Musk Oud, and the regular Aoud. And all 3 of those are also really nice fragrances. I actually, for those of you who care about getting compliments, those are compliment getters whenever I have worn any of those fragrances. So last but not least, we have a fragrance from the Romance line, the red line of fragrances from ROJA, and it is Tiamo. Some of you may have seen this before as well. This was a very generous gift, and I don't wear this very often because it is also like, wow, how do I even describe this fragrance? In a nutshell, to my nose, this smells like very luxurious, expensive pencil shavings. There's a little bit of cacao in there as well. There are just so many notes crammed inside this beautiful juice that, yeah, it's just hard to really explain. But if I'm going to generalize, I will say it smells like really expensive pencil shavings. If that is the type of thing that you like, if you are a fan of the original Gucci fragrance, I will have the bottle over here for you. Then this is definitely one that you need to check out, because it smells very reminiscent of that fragrance, which is discontinued, and I used to have. It's a very grown-up love letter. So this is like an ode to how the Italians love and show romance, but I would say that this is the mature Italians, not the younger crowd of Italians. And yeah, it's just a treat of a fragrance to wear. My mother has always said something when I've worn this fragrance. She was like, whoa, you smell like rich or something. So try that one out. So there you have it, the most outstanding fragrances from the ROJA line. There, of course, could have been more in this lineup, but I had to set some limits off. And let me know what you think in general about ROJA and his perfumes. Yeah, there's a lot to be said about them, but like I said, luxury is always overpriced. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!